There we go. Good morning, everybody. We are getting right up on 10 o'clock if we are not there already. Let me get our slide up and going. There we go. First things off, I know it says drainage workflows right here. That is an oversight on my part. We're actually going to be talking about the FDOT Civil 3D State Kit Drainage Parts Creation. So we're going to get into that there in a moment. But good morning and happy Thursday. I hope all is well with you and yours where you are today. My name is Brian, and I would like to welcome each and every one of you to the next session in the FDOT CAD Office webinar series. Today is January 30th, and we have successfully thawed out from Winter Storm Enzo that brought an unprecedented combination of snow and ice across the panhandle in the southeast overall. So the kids really enjoyed the novelty of our brief winter wonderland and enjoyed getting snow days off for school. That's a rarity here in at least in the Panhandle or Tallahassee. So, but we're back at it now. The kids are back in school. The office is up and running at full speed. So let's get right to it. We have an incredible presentation this morning from our own Randy Roberts, Justin Robertson, and Mike Rocca. And like I said, they're going to be going over the FDOT Civil 3D 2025 State Kit Drainage Parts Creation. So we'll get off of that slide. There we go. All attendees will be in listen-only mode for this webinar. Please submit any questions you have to the question dialog box. We may attempt to answer questions as we go and have a QA session at the end in order to make our time. It is our intention to record this presentation and post it to the CAD office website. That's the same resource in the same website in which you accessed the registration link for this webinar. This morning we had over 160 people sign on with us today. Inevitably, someone is going to lose audio. Please know that the easiest and quickest way to remedy that is to disconnect and reconnect to the webinar. GoTo will compile the entire time that you're on, so have no fear about that. For this training, continuing education will be issued to PEs who attend the live session and who attend the session in its entirety. Certificates will be delivered to the email in which you registered and logged into this webinar with that. And I'm going to kick it right on over to Randy to lead us off.
Welcome to this session on FDOT 2025 Civil 3D State Kit Drainage Parts Creation. Mike Rocca and myself will be doing this session today, along with a cameo appearance from Justin Robertson. Before we get started, I want to make sure everybody knows that we released the initial release of our 2025 Civil 3D State Kit. If you have downloaded the build already, you need to go and get an even newer one that has some fixes pertaining to Entity Manager and litter removal ad hocs. Before, the ad hocs were not reporting, but they are now, so go get the 1.1 2025 State Kit off our webpage. We also released our ORD 2023 initial release, but if you have drainage in your project, do not update to 2023. So keep that in mind. Bentley's aware they are working on a fix, should be shortly. But that's not the topic of today's conversation. We're going to talk about Civil 3D and our drainage parts. So what we're going to be covering today is setup and subpart creation using Inventor Professional 2025, using Infrastructure Parts Editor to assemble the subparts into one-part assembly, exporting options for parts list, and after the video that we're going to play showing Justin Robertson and what he is doing to create these parts in-house, Mike Rocca will show you Inventor Pro basics, just in case that you're curious on how to create parts within your own environment. Okay, so currently if you're using our FDOT drainage parts list, Couple of things to keep in mind here. Under Create Design on the Home ribbon, there is a Map Drainage Structure Parameters. So what this means is if you're going to use the gravity analyzing tools that are built into Civil 3D now, you have to set up mapping fields so it will analyze properly if you're using parts that were built with Part Builder, which all of ours are currently. So keep that in mind. You have a mapping configuration for the parts that you're going to use, which part family, that will allow you to enter in analyzing criteria. And if you need help on that, click the help. It takes you to help documentation explaining what map drainage structure parameters dialog box, all the options in it that you need. So obviously, once we're done creating our parts in Inventor Pro and Parts Editor, you won't have to do the mapping. All right, so something else to keep in mind, if your set pipe network catalog, if you click on that and it comes up 2020, you're going to need to change that. Obviously, that's pointing to the wrong location. So click on the open folder and browse to our State Kit install location, data folder, and just click on the pipe catalog. That will contain structures and pipes, and then the catalog settings will point to our FDOT Imperial pipe and Imperial structure catalog. And if you're curious, Part Builder is still built into the Civil 3D install. And if you haven't seen or used Part Builder, don't know what it is, let me show you a little bit about it. You won't like it, but here it is. So we have pipe and structure. So I'm going to open up a typical structure. This is modify part sizes. So once I click on it, it opens up. This is a 3D part. This is shown in plan view currently. If I change that to 3D, obviously it would rotate. But under part configuration with Part Builder, you have the structure name itself, what type of structure. This is a junction structure, and it's a box. For modeling, you have your different work planes, similar verbiage to what's in Inventor Pro. And for size parameters, so here's the main problem with some of our drainage parts. They're not functioning correctly, so we need to modify those. Whether they don't display correct in section view or profile view, or there's some missing sizes that we need to add. So in Part Builder, we can't just go in and modify or add a particular size. We have to recreate the entire part, otherwise it blows up. So that has been the delay in us creating our parts. The user is I'm going to say it's an easier process once you get to know the inner workings of Inventor Pro and Parts Editor. But each one of these parameters, dimensions, needs to be accounted for in our new parts list, because this follows our design standards with, each part has multiple sizes, multiple thicknesses, and Part Builder parts, it's one part, right? So it's not a subpart. Each individual part here has to have all the sizes imparted into it. So if you wanted to use Part Builder, you could still do that if you wanted to, if you don't have access to Inventor Pro to create these parts. The other aspect and application that you will need is Infrastructure Parts Editor. Now this is not by default installed into Civil 3D install. You will have to install this separately. So let me show you how you install this. So I'm going to go to, in the state, we have AEC collection licenses, which contain a lot of different Autodesk products within that. If you're a consultant, you have your own licenses, and you may have Inventor Professional also. But if I go to view our products and services, and if I scroll down to Civil 3D, basically, what you see now is which version of Civil 3D you can install. But if you want to install Parts Editor and other applications, go to View Details and go to Extensions. If I scroll down, here's Parts Editor. This is the same program that you would install in InfraWorks also. So Infrastructure Parts Editor is designed to work in InfraWorks and Civil 3D. But this is how you would install it. If it's not installed and you click on Infrastructure Parts Editor, it will let you know you need to install it. Then just go to that location I just pointed to. So when I click on it, it's going to open. And basically the parts that you create that we create in Inventor Pro would show up here. And of course, here you have pipes and structures within Parts Editor. And the video that Justin, that we're about to play, is going to go through the process of, creating subparts. We'll just call it drainage part subassemblies. So you're going to create subassemblies in Inventor Pro. Subassembly meaning bottom round sections, tops, grates, each one of those are subparts. And you use Parts Editor to assemble those subparts into one part. So instead of Part Builder doing it all on one part, all the sizes, all the shapes, tops, bottoms, you have subparts that go in here, assemble them into one. And I'm not going to get into too much detail of that, show that in the video. But after the part is assembled, then you export it out to use in Civil 3D or InfraWorks. I think it's two separate export options, but for our usage, we're going to be exporting as Civil 3D, and then we're going to create a new parts list. One thing to remember on Part Builder parts list and Inventor parts list is they're not cross-compatible. So if you have a drainage network that's created with our old Part Builder parts, you can't then use our new parts, Inventor parts, in the same drainage network. That does not work. So we understand that you're going to have legacy projects when we do release our new parts. After we thoroughly test them, there's no time frame on when we're going to be done and ready. But we're going to probably rename our FDOT drainage parts list to let you know which one's Part Builder and which one is done in Inventor and Parts Editor. So if you start a new drainage network, obviously you'd use the new one. You wouldn't use the old one. But if you have an old one and you got to add a new part within that drainage network, you're going to need to use the old legacy Part Builder parts just so it'll work correctly on your end. So thought there to think about. All right, so we've come to the point where I am going to play Justin's video for you. So here we go.
In this video, I will be going over how to create a drainage part in Inventor and how to assemble drainage structures in Inventor Parts Editor, then publishing the assemblies for use in Civil 3D drainage design. First, you'll want to open Inventor 2024 and go to File, New, Part. And in the default orientation, the Z-axis is oriented to the front of the part instead of the top. So we want to right click on our view cube, set current view as top, and now our z-axis is oriented in the vertical position. And we will want to start a sketch on our XY plane. Draw a circle starting in the origin, and we can use parameters inside of Inventor to set dimensions later and change them if we want. This will be SS diameter is equal to 36 inches. We will do an offset of the outer diameter to get our wall thickness, so we will call this wall TH is equal to 3. And we will also do a cover port. So that will be CG diameter is equal to 24 inches. Finish our sketch. Now to set the height of the part, we will extrude and say SS height is equal to 48 inches. I need to see my sketch, so I will make it visible and extrude the top. And it will just be the same as the wall thickness, so just wall TH in that dimension. Go OK. Change to the bottom and add a plane on the bottom of the part. Start a new sketch on this new plane and just project the geometry for later. Now I will go to Infrastructure Part Shape Utilities in the environments, and we are adding assembly connectors so that when we export this part, Infrastructure Parts Editor will know where to connect different parts. The top one will be a grate or cover port, and you need a plane, so the XY plane and then the outside edge of the part, and it has this arrow that shows where it will be connected in orientation. So apply, and then we will go to the bottom, and this one will be an underground structure port. Select the plane and the outside edge, and our arrow is oriented down as it should be. Then say OK, finish structure. Something else we can do is go into parameters, and we can change these values as we wish. So SS diameter can be 48. See, the part's gotten wider. And SS height, we can do 60, and it's gotten taller. But we will just go back to our original values of 36. And something you can also add is user parameters. So this one we will need an infrastructure parts editor, will be SP diameter. And you want to make sure that these boxes for parameters you want are checked. These will be available to be changed inside infrastructure parts editor after the part has been exported. And hide our work planes in our sketch. We will go back into infrastructure part shape utilities. Our arrows are still in the correct directions, and we will export the template. You can change your folder if you wish and name it. We'll just call this surface structure. And if you want a different visual style, you can also do that. And we will just export. and finish. Now that a part has been created in Inventor and exported, Infrastructure Parts Editor can be opened through Autodesk Civil 3D. And what's going to be done in here is to create a catalog of our parts. So, new, create, we'll just give it a name. Once we create a new catalog, we have surface structures, underground structures, and grader covers. So we need to create a surface structure. Right-click New, and we'll leave the name Surface Structures. And then we can go over here to an ellipse to open File Explorer and choose our surface structure that we want. For inlet form, we need to select whatever shape our cover is going to be in. So it is round here. And here we can enter any size that we want for changing our parameters. So we will add a row, and we will just leave the same values that we had in Inventor. And it will generate a preview of the part. So we will do the same thing for underground structures. And our structure base form needs to match to the surface structure. So however it's built, round or rectangular, this one is round. Add a row. And what is important is that SP diameter between underground and surface structure need to match. If they don't, the program will not match these two parts together in later steps. And there's our part preview. And same steps with a grate. This one is a round grader cover. Add a row, and our diameter is 24 and our height is 2. And there's our cover. And then the next step, we're going to go down here to assembly, which is where we will be putting all our pieces together. So at our inlet or access structure, right click New, and we will have to select our surface structure and drag over our underground structure and our grate. Next, nothing needs to be done here, and here it is all put together. So we have our grate, our surface structure, and our underground structure. After the part has been assembled, it needs to be exported to be used in Civil 3D. So go to Publish and Publish again. Select our part. If you have more, there'll be more listed here. Next, we want to publish to Civil 3D. OK. And it was successful. And here's the file location. Go to our catalog. And here's our part right here. Something else that can be done in Infrastructure Parts Editor to generate parts is with spreadsheets. So if we go back to our structures and our surface structures, go to Part Editing, and export to Excel, a spreadsheet will be generated that, once opened, we can create as many parts as we would want. So I will just create a couple extras and create our dimensions. Our cover should be the same size also our SP diameter needs to stay the same. Save it. And back in Parts Editor, we import. The new part sizes have been brought in. And if we go to size validation, we can see that they have been created.
Hello, my name is Mike Rocca, and in this part of the session, I'm going to demonstrate how to create these 3D parts that we've been looking at in a program called Inventor, Autodesk Inventor, which is a 3D parametric modeling program. And we just thought maybe this would be beneficial to those of you who maybe are not familiar with 3D software and how they work. And so we just thought maybe I'd just do a quick overview of the interface and maybe just draw a little widget here and just kind of give you an idea of how this how 3D modeling software works. So with that in mind, this is Autodesk Inventor. I have it launched here, and if we come over here to the file pull down menu, we can choose new, and there's a couple of new file types that we can create, which is one is an assembly, which basically is multiple parts put together. You can create an AutoCAD drawing, which I think a lot of us are familiar with, but for the most part in Inventor you'll be creating this part file. So when I click on it, we're in an IPT file or an Inventor part file. And along the top here, you have your tabs like you're used to seeing in many programs nowadays, or ribbons. You have your 3D model tab. This is whenever you create your 3D features or you modify a 3D feature. You have your sketch tab. This is whenever you're drawing a 2D sketch. This is usually the first step you'll take when creating a part, is you'll be in 2D sketch mode, just drawing lines, circles, arcs, rectangles, things like that. These other tabs, I won't really get into them. We're basically just going to focus on the 3D model and the 2D sketch. Over here on the left, you have a tab here that shows you your collection of sketches and models, and also has your work planes. So as you see when I move my cursor over here, you have XY plane. You can see here in the middle of the screen, it gives you a preview of your X and Z plane and your X and Y plane. Basically just think about these as like 2D sheets of paper that you're drawing on. Okay, you're drawing your 2D sketches on. All right, then you have your axis and you have your center point, which is in the middle of all these planes and axes. You have a center point. Okay, and you can right click on these and you can turn them on if you want to see what they look like. I can turn all three of these on. Visibility. If I hold down the shift key on the keyboard and hold down the wheel of my mouse, you can kind of rotate and see what each one of those planes look like. Okay. Also on the top left here, you have what's known as a view cube. So you can click on it and see what the front looks like. You can see what the top looks like. And as we go to start creating this shape here in a little bit, we'll start using some of these different views, okay, of the view cube. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the visibility of each one of these planes. And the first thing I'm going to do, which is the first command on the far left here, is I'm going to start a new 2D sketch. So when I pick it, it says, okay, well, what plane do you want to start drawing on? Okay, I could either pick it here in the drawing, or I can pick it over here in my panel here. So I'm going to choose this XY plane, and it's going to orientate us to looking directly at it, which is the front that we see over here. And now if you notice, all I have is my 2D sketch objects to start drawing on. So first of all, let's just kind of look at these create sketch tools. So if I pick line and I come here in the drawing and I left click, I can draw a line, just a straight line. If I move it up vertical, it shows a little vertical constraint you can see next to it. If I come here horizontal and keep going, it'll show when there's a horizontal constraint next to it. Okay, and as you draw it out, you'll see that you have a dimension line show up. So it shows you in real time the length that you're drawing this object. So I want to come out to about 1.75 or 1.5, and I can pan around while I'm drawing. So I'm going to come over here and left click, and there's my line. So now what I want to do is I want to draw an arc. So if I come back to this endpoint and left click and hold down my mouse, I can come out and draw a tangent arc at the same time. Okay, and see the little tangent symbol there? So if I come over here and come down and keep going, I'll get a tracking line letting me know that I'm tangent and I'm tracking off the endpoint of that last line that I drew. So if I just left click and release, I'm back in drawing align mode. And if I move my cursor, you'll notice that it's inferring a tangent snap from that last point that I drew. So I'm going to come out here and I want to even it up with this endpoint. So I can just kind of scrub over this. I don't have to click or anything, just kind of scrub over it, come down, and I'm tracking off of that endpoint that I started with, and I can even it up. Again, hold down the left mouse button and I can come out and I can infer a coincident constraint to that first point that I drew. And I just released my left mouse button and Inventor knows that I drew a complete enclosed in shape. So I'm no longer drawing a shape anymore. I'm no longer in the line command. So if I right click, I can just choose OK, and there's our shape. Now if I come back over here, you can kind of move these objects around and you can see that no matter how I drag them, the lines stay horizontal and the arcs stay tangent to one another. Okay, and if you look here in the middle, you've got these center point lines that show the center point of these arcs that I drew. So let's come up here to our top ribbon and we can dimension these out. So I can choose the dimension command, pick from this point to this point, and I can scroll around a little bit, put it up here, and I can give it a size. So once I left click, it'll tell me what size do you want. So I can type in 1.75. And there's the size of my shape. Okay. And if I come back over here again, I can say okay, right click and say OK. And now when I drag this around, just the radiuses of the shape change. The shape, the length of the shape doesn't change anymore. Okay, so that kind of gives us a clue on what kind of geometry or dimension we need to add to our shape next. So I'm going to select this dimension shape again, or I can press D on the keyboard, pick this arc, and come out here a little bit, and I'm going to say this is a diameter or radius of, let's say, 0.5. Okay. Right click and click OK. Now when I click this, the whole thing moves. Okay, but nothing changes shape anymore. It just kind of free floats around the screen. Whenever you draw a sketch in Inventor, you normally want the sketch to be black and you want it completely anchored down. Okay, you want everything to have some kind of rule associated with it, where it doesn't just freely move around the screen anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to line again, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say I want to draw a construction line, and I want to go from this point to this point. Right click and choose OK, and you can see that it's just a dashed line. That means that this isn't going to be any part of the shape. It's just a construction line. Okay, and I can take that construction line and move it around, and it drags the part with it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use these constraints, and I want to constrain the middle of this construction line to the center point of my drawing. So let's go up here, and I think we can use this coincident constraint. There's a few that we can use at this point, but I think we use coincident. Bring my cursor along here, and you'll see that when I get to the middle of this construction line, a green point shows up. So I can click here, and then I can click at the center point, and it drags that shape over to it. I can right click and say OK, and now everything is black. It means that everything is being controlled by some kind of constraint, or it's being controlled by a dimension. Now if you come up here, you have this FX icon, which is basically your parameters option. When I click that, it shows that I have two model perimeters, 1.75, which is my horizontal length, and then D1, which is my radius length. And you can come here and you can rename these if you want to. I can call this HORZ for horizontal, and then D1, I'll call this, this said diameter, actually meant this is my radius, or AD, radius. You can give them names. You can also come over here and click in this box and change the dimensions from here. Okay, go back and change them back. So you can kind of like an Excel spreadsheet driven dialog box, you can control your shape from here. So once I click done, I'm done with my sketch. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say finish. Now I'm no longer in sketch mode, I'm in a 3D model mode. So this is where I can choose to create something from the sketch that I drew. So here we're going to say, let's take this solid shape and we're going to say extrude. Now since I only had one shape in here, Inventor knew to pick that shape and go ahead and extrude it for me. The dialog box comes up and it says, okay, how far do I want to make this, or how thick do I want to make this part? So let's say 0.5. As soon as I hit 0.5, it changes, or I can come over here and I can click some of these icons and tell it which way to go. I can go to the left of the sketch, to the right of the sketch. I can also come up here and manually pick left or right, or I can say go both directions and leave the sketch in the middle of the part. And that's generally what you want to do when you're creating pieces, is you kind of want to keep the work plane in the middle of your part. So now I'm going to click OK, and there's our first piece. Now if you come over here and look, you can see this is our first extrusion, and this extrusion is being used by this sketch here. So at any point in time I can come to this sketch, right click and say edit sketch, and still change these dimensions. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say finish, and we're back here to our part, and let's go ahead and let's make another sketch. So now I can say start sketch. I don't need to pick a work plane anymore. I can just come here and pick a face of this part to start drawing on. So I'm going to pick this top face here, and it orientates me to the front face of this, but I'm going to go ahead and just kind of move it a little bit up. And I want to use the edge of this solid for some of my sketching. Okay, so if you come up here, you can use this project geometry tool. So when I say project geometry, bring my cursor over it. I'm going to highlight this whole face, and see how the edges turn yellow? That means I can use that as part of my new sketch. So I can come over here for circle. I can pick the center of this point now because it projected the center of this edge here. I can left click, bring my cursor out, and I can give it a dimension as I'm drawing it, or I can come up here and pick dimension and say I want to go from this circle to this edge, and I want this to be let's say 1. Oh, not 1. What would work here? Let's do 0.5. Yeah. Okay. I see what I did. I actually clicked the edges here. Let me delete this here. So I can select this dimension, right click. Oh, pick it here, just hit delete on the keyboard. Oh. Alright, so let's delete this dimension. So I'm going to select it and just hit delete on the keyboard and try it again. So I'm just going to say dimension, pick the circle, come out here, and let's say 0.5. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to finish this sketch. Actually, let me do one more. I'm going to say circle, and I'm going to come from here and snap to the edge of that sketch there, right click, and now I'm going to choose OK. Now I'm going to say finish sketch, and I'm going to choose the extrude option, And I've got two shapes that I can pick from here. You can see when they highlight green, I'm going to pick this outside one. And I can actually pick that one too at the same time. Actually, let me cancel this. Let's do this. Let's say, I'm going to say extrude. I'm going to pick this part, but this time, let's cut, and we're going to cut down into the part. Okay. So click OK, and now we have a hole that goes through it. Now I'm going to say sketch one more time. Pick this face, and I'm going to say project geometry. Pick that sketch again, and I'm going to draw a circle from here to the outside. Click OK, say finish, and now I can extrude this part up away from the part, and click OK. So you can see it's pretty simple. Once you get a sketch in there, you can reuse those edges from your solids and surfaces. And again, notice how we go through here, our part's starting to build. You can take this end apart and kind of move it and see how this part was created or constructed. And at any point here, we can right click on these and we can edit either the sketch or we can edit the feature. So if you want to go through here and maybe make this up, 0.75 or something and change it, you can. All right, so that's how to create a sketch. That's how to create some of these 3D features from Sketch. Take a look at this modify tool here. It's pretty interesting. So let's say if we want to fillet the edges of this part. So I can rotate this part around, choose fillet, pick my edges. Okay, it says it's got 4 edges that are picked. I can give it a size here that I want to use. You can see as soon as I click it, it changes in real time. Click OK, and it will fillet the edge. I can do this inside here as well. Click OK, and we can do this part here. Okay, we can do a chamfer, which gives us a straight edge, and you can put your distance in there. Click OK, and it chamfers it out. If you want to put a thread in here, you can pick the thread option. Pick your surface. You can pick different types, thread types, sizes. It doesn't actually cut into the part. It's basically a visual representation of what a thread may look like. Okay. And then go ahead and click OK. And you can just kind of see how easy it is to model anything in Inventor. This is a simple part, but we just kind of wanted to give you a quick overview or idea how this works and how we are utilizing Inventor to create our parts for Civil 3D. All right. With that said, thank you very much. Hope everybody enjoyed this session and hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.
Okay, well, that was it. I want to thank Randy and Mike and Justin for their time in creating this presentation for us today. That was wonderful. It was insightful. It was dynamic, I would say, with the videos and what you guys had recorded. But we don't have any questions, and we've got 6 minutes to go, everybody. So if anybody would be interested in getting a valid certificate, we need to start asking some questions here. So type away. I see y'all out there. Time to wake up. Engage in the process. Justin, Mike, Randy, are you guys on? Is there anything else you want to add? Any other comments about the topic here?
was going to say that was like 3 webinars in one.
No, you guys did a great job.
Yeah, we're still working on all these parts. I guess we're trying to shoot to have these out for 2025 release, or it could be 2026.
Yeah, and we'll be doing a lot of testing and probably have some beta test state kits so we can get even more feedback.
Good deal. There we go. Speaking of feedback, Lisandro says, very good explanation. Thank you so much. And Jeffrey has come in with a question. Thank you, Jeffrey. Says, does the FDOT state pack include pre-created parts for typical FDOT structures? Good question.
Yes, there's a existing parts list called FDOT Drainage. It has proposed pipes and structures that are based off the standard detail plans. And you can also refer to the drainage manual for the other parts that are used.
I think if you go to our FDOT training page, we actually have some training on how to use the FDOT structures, how to set your library, how to place them in the drawing, how to label them, show them in plan and cross-section views as well.
Very good point. Very good point. Thank you, Mike. We have another question here. It says, in 2024 state kit, the pipe thickness on pipe culvert S/CD states that the thickness come from a table. I can't seem to be able to adjust the wall thickness for RCP. Any suggestions where to find that table or how to update the pipe wall thickness?
That may be in a drainage manual. We do have people in our building in the drainage section. If you have more detailed questions, you can email them. I think Jennifer Green is one. I'm not familiar of who else would be able to answer a detailed question. Because all we do is provide you with the parts themselves, not the design parameters.
And just to keep in mind, if you can't adjust things like the wall thickness, that's kind of the reason why we're going through this exercise of recreating these parts in Inventor, because the parts that we currently have don't have the options to do things like that. So hopefully the new parts that we work on will have the options to do things like adjust the wall thickness and such.
Good deal. All right, Derek has another one here. It says, a great demonstration of Inventor. Thank you. Well, thank Justin. Will there be more options in the 2025 state kit for bottom structure sizes?
I'm going to assume yes.
There we go.
The advantage is that adding new sizes, you can put them in Excel, so you can export the Excel table out, add your new sizes, and import them back in. Much easier process.
Sounds good. All right, everyone. Do we have any other questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace. We are right up on our time, so I hope that everyone signed in on time. While we wait to see if anybody kicks another thing in, I'll let everybody know that we will be bringing the next webinar on Thursday, February 13th. That'll be brought to us by none other than our own drainage guru, James Worley, when he discusses the FDOT Connect 2023 custom drainage resources. So you don't want to miss that one either. I don't see any other questions, but we just crossed the 50-minute mark. So before I turn it back over to Mike, Randy, or Justin, I just want to say I hope everyone has a great rest of the week. Have a fantastic weekend. But gentlemen, the floor is yours. Go ahead with any further comments. Say your goodbyes, and then we'll shut it on out.
I just want to thank everybody for attending. We actually had a pretty good turnout. Perhaps in the future we will do more of a drainage parts workflow instead of the actual drainage parts creation. So we'll keep
Yes,
that in
with the
mind.
new parts.
Yep. That's all I have.
Yep, that's all I have.
All right. Well, that's it, everybody. Have a great rest of the week and a fantastic weekend.